Greetings and welcome to this evening's webinar hosted by the Pittsburgh Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. My name is Jovita Smith, and I currently serve as First Vice President of the Pittsburgh Alumni Chapter, and it is my pleasure to bring you greetings in the absence of our President, Doris Smith, who is traveling. We thank you all for joining us this evening. We hope that you will receive a wealth of information as you unlock your entrepreneurial spirit with this powerful series that's designed to provide you with skills and information that will drive growth, adaptability, strategic thinking, and any other tools that might be beneficial to our entrepreneurs in the Pittsburgh area. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we hope you find this webinar useful and informative. And now I'll turn it over to April Russell.
Good evening again, everyone. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Mindset series. My name is April Russell, and I am honored to serve as the chair of the Economic Development Committee alongside co-chair Marion Woods. I am also joined by Deborah Gloucester, our subcommittee chair, as well as Bridget Bethia, co-chair. Together, we are thrilled to bring this empowering series to you on behalf of the Pittsburgh Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. It's a pleasure to have all of you with us this evening for the first session of our four-part series. It's designed to equip entrepreneurs with essential tools, as mentioned, for growth, adaptability, and strategic success. Tonight's program will offer valuable insights for both startup founders and seasoned business owners as part of our ongoing commitment to advancing economic development and supporting entrepreneurship within our community. We're excited to share knowledge, exchange ideas, and inspire each of you on your journey. Thank you again for joining us, and let's make this an engaging and impactful session. Enjoy the program. Our next voice will be our chair of the Subcommittee for Entrepreneurial Mindset, Deborah Gloucester.
Good evening. Thank you for coming and joining us on the Entrepreneur Mindset series. I'm going to introduce our speaker. Her name is Stacy Barlow-Hill. She is an award-winning leadership and lifestyle coach, and she's also dedicated to helping overwhelmed entrepreneurs balance and realize their fullest potential, all while building successful business. Through her live Lead, Succeed, and Balance initiatives, Stacy empowers clients to overcome limiting beliefs, discover their purpose, and develop expert leadership skills. With over 13 years as a founder and CEO of Encore Event Design, plus certification as a Maxwell Leadership Coach, speaker, and DISC consultant, Stacy guides her clients to achieve meaningful, measurable success on both personal and professional fronts. I now present to you Stacy Barlow-Hill.
Hello and good evening. I'm so excited to be here with you all this evening. I thank you, my beautiful sorors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, for having me. I don't take this lightly. And I thank you all for being here, for showing up for yourselves and wanting to invest in yourselves and your business. And it's always good to be around other like-minded entrepreneurs and other business owners. So let me pull up my presentation today. Okay, so this is the ultimate toolkit for startups and seasoned entrepreneurs. So we're going to go through a broad range of things today. It's going to be a lot of things just to get your mind thinking, to get you thinking about the broad picture. There's so many things that go into entrepreneurship, and obviously we can't cover them all in our session this evening, but it's just to get you to start thinking about all of the things that encompass entrepreneurship and what it really takes to make that entrepreneurial journey. And some of you may have been in business for decades, for a year, for a month. Some of you may be thinking about starting a business. So this is really for everyone because the journey is really going to be the same at some point in your business. So I won't talk too much about myself, but just to give you some background about where I'm coming from. I have been an entrepreneur for the last 14 years. My first business was Encore Event Design. We were a full service event decor and design company. We had a storefront over in the West End of Pittsburgh. I just retired that company in October of last year. In 2019, I founded Live, Lead, Succeed, which is executive coaching and consulting. We also had a physical space called Balance, where we do physical fitness classes, health and wellness sessions, and professional coaching. I am a facilitator for Entrepreneurs Forever, where we conduct peer groups that meet monthly. And you're going to learn more about that program as I talk. Some of the presentation is going to be directly from that organization, so I'll save a little bit of that for later. But I am a disc consultant. What I'm most proud of is being a wife of the last 19 years. I am a mom of 17-year-old twin girls. They are in their senior year this year, graduating from high school, going off to college soon. So there's a lot going on in our household. I am a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta, which I already told you. I love to eat. I'm actually pretty healthy, but on the weekends, I do allow myself to eat whatever I choose. So I do call myself a healthy foodie. I love to read, I love to travel, and I just love to have fun. I just love to laugh and to relax and be around like-minded people. So let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about 5 characteristics that every entrepreneur pretty much either has to have or is going to have. But at some point, you're going to have to develop these in order to stay on the journey. We're going to go over an entrepreneur competency model. And then within that competency model, there's going to be 7 areas of focus. We are going to take a business assessment together so that you have some idea of where you stand with your business and how you're doing. And then we're going to make a commitment to our growth and really make some promises to ourselves about growing our business. So since there are quite a few of us on here, we were going to go around, but I don't want to take up too much time. So I would love if you could just put in the chat your name, tell me your business, maybe how long you've been in business. And just so I can kind of get an idea of who is in the room and where you're at in your journey. And I can't really see the chat. So Sister Sandra, if you can maybe just tell me maybe some of the names and the businesses that we have, how long that they have been in business.
I'm waiting for comments.
Okay. Business, how long you've been in business?
I have R.B. Wilson Tucker, just starting exploring options.
Okay.
I have Juana Jones, PBJ Customs, a virtual arts and mural business since April 2021.
Okay, wonderful. All right.
Latisse Lamb, empowering HR consulting, less than a year.
Hey,
Melissa
Latisse.
Coleman, MCI Management, and Melissa Yvonne Virtual Artist Services, been in business since 2000.
All right.
Selena Calloway, The Spot Incorporated Bar and Restaurant, 14 years.
14 years, wow. Okay, all right, I'm going to keep
Everyone
going.
else is remaining anonymous thus far.
Okay. All right. Well, feel free to still put it in the chat. We can come back to it later because I still would love to know what other businesses are out there. But I'm going to keep going here. All right. So when we talk about our characteristics of entrepreneurship, the first one we want to talk about briefly is resiliency. right? The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. There are always going to be a roadblock. There's going to be a challenge. There's always going to be some obstacle that comes in your way when it comes to entrepreneurship. So if you have not learned already, you're going to have to learn that you're going to have to develop tough skin, because that is absolutely what it's going to take for you to remain on this journey of entrepreneurship. Adaptability, the ability to pivot in response to market demands and challenges. Pivoting is a must. You're going to have team members that'll leave, that are going to come and go. You'll have competitors that might show up right across the street from you or right on your block. You'll have personal issues. You'll have life. That's just going to life. Life is lifing, right? You're going to have to duck and you're going to have to pivot to keep up with things. You need a vision, right? So if you're a believer, what do they say about not having a vision? The people perish. Now, it's kind of the same with your business. Your business perishes if you don't have a vision. You have to be able to stay ahead of what you see for your company. If you don't know where you're going or how you're going to get there, you're going to be stuck. So you have to take time to listen, to hear, to focus on what you ultimately want to see come to fruition for your company. You have to have creativity. And sometimes when we think about creativity, we think about maybe the entrepreneur just shared about having a mural business. We think about being able to produce something beautiful. But creativity is really just being able to think out of the box, right? Like if you're stuck in something, what can I do to change the projection of this, right? So what is your superpower? What makes you stand out from the rest? There's probably a million hairstylists, right? But what's different? What makes you stand out? What makes your salon stand out? There was a salon I used to go to, and they served you wine, and the vibe was nice. There was always like Anita Baker playlist playing or something like that. And to me, that made me want to go because that was my vibe, right? And that was their superpower, that they were an awesome host. So you think about, what do you do that makes you stand out? You may offer the same service, but how can you do it like no one else does it? And what makes you stand out amongst your competition? And then persistence, right? Just stay in the course. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. There's going to be celebrations and there's going to be wins, but there's also going to be challenges. And I don't like to say failures. I like to say opportunities for growth. So you're going to have to stay the course, no matter what end of that road that you land on. All right. So we're going to get into this toolkit a couple of years ago. And we use this competency model with all of our groups. So the organization itself consists of peer members. So it's entrepreneurs that meet in small groups each month. They meet for about a couple hours. Once a month, it's always the same time. Every month, it's all virtual. And basically, it's peer to peer. So you talk about your issues in real life time, you have accountability, and we use these competency models. And there's 7 areas that we use. And each month, you kind of hold yourself accountable within these categories. But within these categories is really the toolkit that we're going to talk about. And it's all the things that encompass what it entails to grow and scale your business. So we're going to kind of go through these. But the seven areas are connection, vision, money, sales and marketing, talent, processes, and growth. We are actually going to take this business assessment at the end. So when you see these numbers on the slides, that big number in the middle is the number that is the average of those that have taken this assessment. So we've had hundreds of business owners that take this assessment. And I'm showing you this up front because I don't want you to get scared when you see your own results. So this category is 1 out of 15. And sometimes, you expect to see a 13, a 14, a 15, and that's just not always the case. But there's no right or wrong. There's no pass or fail. This is really just to give you a glimpse of where you are and to help you understand what areas you need to focus on in your business. So let's get started with the first category here. So under connections, and some of these you're going to see are going to overlap because a lot of the categories do kind of mirror each other. So under connections, we have networking groups, right? So there's networking groups. And when you think about that, there's like BNI groups, there's business mixers, there's business socials, there's Facebook groups, LinkedIn. They're all out there. You just have to go find them. So start with, asking friends or asking industry friends. But business to business. And what that means is finding complementary businesses that you can connect with, ones that are a win-win, not just something that gives you the advantage, but it's also going to be a win to the other business. So for example, one of my peer members in my group, she's a closet organizer, right? So her business to business partnerships look like partnering with real estate agents, with dumpster companies, with cleaning companies. With my event company, I used to partner with rental companies, with caterers, with florists, with DJs, things like that. So it's a win-win because you refer each other within the businesses, right? So we have peer groups. So peer groups like eForever, which I just mentioned, where you can learn from others with the same mindset and people that have the same challenges, or maybe they've been where you've been and they can offer advice to you, or best practices. Industry friends. So in my world, I like to say I don't have any competitors. I've never had competitors. I always find a way to work together. I support them, they support me. Going back to that superpower that you have, there's something that you do that they don't do. You can do the same exact service, you can have the same exact business, but there's going to be something that you offer that reaches a group of clients that nobody else can get to, right? So you have industry friends where you build bonds, you support one another. Maybe they refer clients over to you that are overflow clients or clients that they might think might be a better fit for you. Then we have our chambers of commerce. A lot of people think with chambers of commerce that you have to be in just your local area, and that's not true. You can be a part of many chambers of commerce as you want to. But just like anything, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So you can join organizations and you can join networking groups, but if you're not going to participate, if you're not going to show up, if you're not going to make those connections, you're not going to get that back out of it. So just make sure if you're just joining them just to join, you're probably not going to get out of it what you're seeking. So join them with intention, join the ones that have businesses that you feel, can best serve you and that you can serve them, right? Because you want it to be a win-win. Online communities, there's so many coaching programs, Facebook groups, peer groups. You'd be surprised at what kind of specific groups exist. I just joined this group this week called Black Girls in Target. And it's so specific, but there are groups just like that for your businesses, right? There might be, Black doctors that see certain types of patients or, things like that. So just go on and search. I guarantee you will find something specific and niche to your industry. And then there's just coaching programs in general, right? So you can find coaching programs based on your industry. You can find coaching programs based on the actions that you're trying to achieve, like gaining more sales, expansion, marketing, leadership, all those types of things. So those are out there. Our next area is Envision. So Envision, we had already talked about this a little bit with our characteristics of entrepreneurship. But with Entrepreneurs Forever, we discuss Vivid Vision. So it's actually a book called Vivid Vision. And in that book, they talk about having a 3-year plan. And in that 3-year plan, it's very vivid, just like the title. So they want you to talk about how do you walk? How do you talk? What do you wear? What does it smell like? What's what does your business stand for? Are you winning awards? How many people are on your team? It's very vivid to the point that you almost believe it. And that's what the point of that is. It's really to get it burned and ingrained in your mind so that you almost believe that it's real, so that you start acting that out and you start seeking the path to get to that point. So that's what the overall message is when we're talking about vision. But having a business strategy, right? You need to know how you're going to get where you're going and who do you need to get there, right? Because most of the time you can't do it alone. Sometimes you can. A lot of times you can't. So who do you need to get there? Goal setting and mind mapping. This is one of my favorite things to do. I love to do this with my groups. Actually, we're doing this this month for November. So we're goal setting for 2025. But we take it a step further and we work on mind mapping. So mind mapping is picture like a big chart and you kind of have your goal at the top and then you extend that goal. So if your goal is to maybe say you sell products and you want to start a subscription business. So one leg coming from that would be maybe you have to work on packaging. Maybe you have to work on price setting. Maybe you have to work on the ingredients list. Maybe you have to work on getting email lists and distribution and things like that. So you would take a bullet, a mark from that bubble and create more bubbles. And then once you create your packaging, then you're going to figure out how much time do I need to spend on that? And then you're going to map it down to, I'm going to spend every Monday from 10 to 12 working on this packaging until it's done. And I'm going to set a goal to have it done by X amount. So it's very tedious. We actually spend our whole sessions working on that, but it's a great tool. And if you take the time to work on it, it really, really maps out your planning for the next year. So I highly recommend you look up mind mapping and start doing that. Values and missions are very important to your vision, right? Because your core values are really going to determine what you say no to so that you can say yes to other things. If you keep filling up your schedule with things that don't make sense, that don't align with your values, you're going to miss out on the opportunities that you should be saying yes to. So, right, one of my core values is family. So right now I am saying no to a lot of things because, as I mentioned, I have girls that are graduating this year and I really want to be present with them. I want to be focused. And if I keep saying yes to stuff, I'm going to miss that and I won't get that time back. So I'm very intentional about what I say yes to. I'm very intentional about what I say no to. And there's a season, right? So there's different seasons. So after they leave, I may be able to say yes to more things, but you have to be able to keep your core values in the front of your opportunities and what you say yes and no to. And then what do you stand for? What are you not willing to compromise on? Maybe are you like a holistic practitioner that works with health and wellness, and maybe you don't believe in prescription medication, but you're faced with an opportunity where someone wants you to offer that. Maybe you sell like natural ingredient hair products, or maybe you're a person of faith and someone is challenging your faith. How do you handle that? And how are you going to stand firm in what you stand for? That's part of your vision. You have to be able to not waver in what you believe, for a quick sale or for something that may seem popular, but if it's not part of what you stand for, then you have to be able to stand firm in that. Client avatars. So a client avatar is basically your ideal client, and then really studying them and honing in on who they are, right? Their demographics, their geographics, where do they hang out at? What are their buying patterns at? Where they shop at? Really being able to zone in on who that is. Everyone's not your client. And a lot of times we think everyone is our client, and everyone can potentially be your client. But when you zone in on that client avatar and who you ultimately want to serve, you're going to find that that's where you're going to excel. And then everyone else that comes along is just going to be icing on the cake. What does success look like to you, right? And we say to you because your version of success is not going to look like everybody else's version of success. And it may look different in different seasons. So sometimes in a season, your business may be a side hustle. Maybe you just want enough money to be able to travel, maybe to have a different lifestyle, maybe to, do self-care, maybe to put a child through school, whatever that is, maybe that's what it is in that season. I've had friends that have, goals of having $1 million companies. And that was not a version of success to me because I knew what it was going to take to get there. And I wasn't willing to sacrifice those core values again to get there. But there's no right or wrong answer in this. If that's your version, that's your version. But you just have to make sure it's your version and not what you think, others think that you should be doing. Going back to what do you stand for, your values, your core values and things like that. And then what is your wildest dream? Allow yourself to dream big. What do you really want to happen for your company? And what if you strive for that and you only got half of that, right? That's still better than where you were, right? So allow yourself to dream and dream big. Our next category is money. And a lot of times entrepreneurs shy away from money. I am one that money was not my strong suit. I am fortunate to be married to a financial man. So he has been wonderful in taking care of our finances along with my account over the years. So I'm grateful for him, but that is not my strong suit. But I have learned a lot over the years about money. And one of the things that we talk about in our groups is who taught you about money? Because a lot of times we bring that into our businesses, right? So what were your earliest lessons about money? Did you grow up with money? Did you not grow up with money? Did something happen along the way? Think about that because you may be bringing that into your business. And again, no right or wrong answers, but it's just being aware of what it is that you don't know and how you can turn that around. Do you pay yourself? This is usually a source of big discussion when we talk to entrepreneurs about paying yourself. Entrepreneurs usually put themselves on the back burner. They'll pay everyone else but themselves. There is a book called Profit First. If you have not read it, I absolutely highly recommend it. But the gist of the book is paying yourself. Basically, you pay yourself first, just like you do your employees, like you do a bill, like you do your rent if you have it. You pay yourself and you make it a priority, because ultimately what happens is you burn out. If you keep working 80 hours a week, because that's what we do, right? We become entrepreneurs so that we can work 80 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week for someone else. We end up burning ourselves out, and then we don't have anything to reward ourselves with, and we end up getting burned out. And that's how businesses ultimately end up closing before their time, because the owners are burnt out and they're not seeing the profit generated. Profit and loss. Do you know how to run a profit and loss report? Do you understand it? Do you know how to use it? Do you use it to keep up with the ebbs and flows of your business? Do you use a system that produces it for you? Just to begin thinking about that. Bookkeeping and accounting, is this something you can successfully do yourself? Do you need to outsource it? I had to outsource it. That is not something that I was able to do myself or wanted to do myself. So that was absolutely something that I outsourced and still outsource. Income streams. Can you create multiple streams of income from what you currently do? Sometimes it's a lot easier than you think. Sometimes you're sitting on a completely different income stream that you just may not have even thought of. Sometimes it's born out of necessity. For me, with my event company, when we were closed during COVID, because we were an event company, we had an event venue, and we had to close down because nobody was having events anymore. But we offered balloon decor, and we had all these balloons sitting around. We had them, we had the website online, so we decided to make a balloon boutique. And we started selling balloons online, making no contact pickup. They were ready. People just came and picked them up and took them. And that's what sustained our business during the COVID times. So sometimes it comes out of need, but it's usually something that is just kind of lingering around that just needs to be brought to life. So think about how you can create extra income streams. Break even point. Do you know how many products or services you need to sell in order to break even each month, each week, each year? How many sales do you need as a result to generate a profit that matches your sales goals? So sometimes we think, we sold 100 gadgets that month and we profited 100 gadgets. You didn't profit 100 gadgets because it took money to make those gadgets. You have overhead, you may have rent or a mortgage, or you have salaries, or you have insurance, or you have something. There's some types of bills. Even if you work at home or you don't have an actual brick and mortar business, you have expenses and you have overhead. So you have to figure out what that break even point is, so that you know how many you need to sell to break even, so that everything on top of that is going to generate profit for you. And then you need to know your season of business, right? So if you sell Christmas trees right now, you are probably in your peak season of business, right? If you own a gym, your peak season of business is probably after the new year. If you own a farm, your peak business season is probably in the summertime. So you have to think about the ebbs and flows of the business and being able to save for that. So if you're generating all your money in one particular season, you have to be able to reserve your funds so that you have the money to survive the rest of the year. So all these things are thinking about money. Next, we're going to talk about sales and marketing. So what are your sales goals? And some of these are going to overlap. We already kind of talked about this a little bit with the goal and the mind mapping. But what is your sales goal? What's your plan to reach them? What are your marketing methods that you're using, right? And I'm going to talk about this just for a minute, because most people think that social media is the main form of marketing. And while that is true for some people, it does not have to be true for you. If you are not good at social media, you don't have to be on social media. If you're only good at Facebook, just use Facebook. You don't have to be on every single social media platform, because what ultimately happens is if you're not good at it, and it's not a good, if you're not going to keep up with it and be reliable with it, it's just going to end up being something else you have to do. It's not going to serve you. It's going to actually make your brand look bad, because you're going to have posts that are dated, way outdated. People are going to think you're not in business anymore. So if you're not good at it, you don't have to be on it. The best way you can make up for that is with your customer service. There are many brands that don't have a website. Now, I don't recommend this. You should have a website or some type of landing page. But if you don't have one, work on your customer service. People will find you. There are brands that I love that are not online. They don't have a website. The only way you can get to them is to call them or to go to their physical place of business and order. And if I really love something that much, I will do that. But that's because they offer a great product and they have customer service. So work on that. That is your sales and marketing. People will refer other people to you. Word of mouth gets around. But some other ways that maybe you're not even thinking about, you can do print, you can do blogs, you can do newsletters, you can host events, you can host a podcast, you can be on a podcast. You can build those connections with other business owners, like we talked about before, your industry friends. You can work on your signage, your packaging, your SEO. You can host annual sales. You can work on philanthropy. You can have social advocacy campaigns. You can sponsor teams or sponsor events. There's so many other ways to get your name out there. So begin thinking about some of those other avenues that might work for you. Again, who is your target client? Kind of like the client avatar we just talked about. Where do you find them? And then your sales and marketing in general. Is this something that can be outsourced? If you are not good at social media, but you really want to have a social media presence, you can outsource that. So go ahead and find those. I'm going to take a quick sip of water here. Next, we're going to talk about talent. So some of you may be solopreneurs, meaning that you are the only ones in your business. Some of you may have teams. Some of you may just be starting to have a team or building your teams. But if you are a solopreneur, how do you manage yourself? A lot of times we get into business because we are naturally gifted at something or we have a passion for something. And then the business opens and then we say, oh, I didn't know I was going to have to be the receptionist, the admin, the janitor, the bookkeeper, the salesperson, the laborer, all those things, right? So how do you manage your time? How do you figure out what you can do that gives you the greatest return on your investment? Can you put stuff on the calendar? Like those are things that only you can answer, but how can you begin to manage yourself? And then how do you know when you should hire? All right, going back to that, what gives you the greatest return on your investment? What is it that you do that no one else can really do? Or what is it that you do best that actually gives the greatest return in your business? And then to also think about what is it that you do that someone else could do more effectively, right? Or what is it that you do that you absolutely hate doing, right? So those last two things become your job description, right? So you list out all of those things, all those things that you don't like to do, all those things that you don't need to be doing, all those things that are not a good use of your time or a good return on your investment. And then also think about how much you can afford, right? So a lot of times we think we have to hire at, six figures. We have to pay somebody more than we're paying ourselves. And that's just not true. My first hire was an admin, and I'm actually great at admin work. I didn't have the time to do it. It wasn't something I really enjoyed doing, but I was good at doing it. But I hired someone for 5 hours a week at like $13 an hour. This was, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. But they did an amazing job. And at that season in their life, that was exactly what they wanted. They wanted about 5 hours a week. They were in college and graduate school and just wanted something to have a little bit of extra money, and that worked out. So there's always someone in a season that is going to be able to provide what it is that you want to offer. So think about that when you're thinking about hiring someone. And then how will you track your progress? I'm sorry. Yeah, how will you track your progress? So how are you going to know how your new hires are doing? How are you going to onboard them? So when you think about them coming to your business, what it is that they need to learn? Do they need to know how to perform on the cash register? Do they need to learn sales? You want to think about all these things before you hire them, because once you hire them, it's going to be too late. So you need to plan it out ahead of time so that when you bring them on, you have a real plan for them. And then the 80-20 rule. This applies to so many things. If you heard this before, 80-20 rule just applies to a lot of things. But the best way that I had heard it used in terms of business was in terms of hiring and delegating others to run your business. So the rule was if someone does something 80% as good as you should let them, because your clients will not notice the other 20%. And that was really a turning point for me, because when I heard that, I did have a team, but I was still hesitant in delegating, because like most of us entrepreneurs, we want things done a certain way. We have a hard time of letting go of something that we built that has our name on it and that we have a reputation for, right? So it's hard. And then if we don't delegate, we get burnt out. But that rule really changed things for me. And they're still going to fail. They're going to make mistakes. Things are going to happen. But you're just going to have to walk through that with them and let go of that 20% and then allow them to get to the 100%. So that goes into the delegation. And then knowing when you can outsource, you can do employees versus contractors, figuring out what's the best fit for you. So all of those go into talent. Then we have our operations and processes. So SOPs means standard operating procedures. So standard operating procedures are basically having detailed processes and lists for anything that you need someone else to know how to operate. So it's basically getting everything out of your head and on paper. So an operating procedure could be basically a Word doc with a checklist of things that you need to do. It could be a video recording, like I'm sitting here now and talking. You could be talking through the process. You can do a voice recording, whatever it is that gets it out of your head. But you really want to think about, if something happened to you, how would your business still run? You can have SOPs for onboarding. You can have SOPs for so many things, running your cash registers, learning how to get into your systems. Maybe you have one with all of your passwords and all those things in it. But it's basically setting the stage so that others can run your business effectively and that it can run without you. KPIs are key performance indicators. So how do you track your growth? How do you know if you're on track to meet your sales goals? How do you know how well your team is performing? How do you rank among your competition? Then I just said, what if something happens to you? How will you handle that? And are you organized just in general? You want to do this before you have to do it. Because once you have to do it, you'll be rushed and you'll miss things. So you want to take the time out to do it before you have to do it. All right. And then our last area here is in growth. So in growth, just thinking about going back to vision again, this kind of intertwines with that. So growth, thinking about a succession plan, if that's something that you want. Do you want to pass this down to children, to a family member, to a friend, to a partner? Is this something, your business that you want to pass down through generations or to someone else? Do you ultimately want to retire the company? Do you want to retire yourself? You want to sell the company. Is it your ultimate goal to sell? Do you know what you need to know in order to do that? If you are thinking about selling, you want to Google EBITDA, because that is absolutely something you will need to know, your EBITDA numbers, in order to sell. So Google that if you don't know what that is. Your exit plan, do you have one? Do you ultimately want to maybe just expand it? Do you want to hire and expand and maybe work yourself out of the day-to-day? Do you have dreams of franchising your business? Do you know how to franchise? Do you know where to start? Do you know a timeline that you want to accomplish this? Maybe you want to merger your business. Are you interested in being acquired by another company, or maybe vice versa? Do you maybe just want to step back from being the CEO and just take on a consultant role or an advisor role? What are your overall plans and dreams for your business? So I know we went over a lot and that was quick, but I hope that you got some nuggets out of that. But this is the overall score from those competency models that we went over. So we are going to now take the test ourselves. So I'm going to see if Sandra can put the link in the chat for us so that you can take this assessment yourself. Or you can use the QR code if you're on a computer. Maybe you can scan it with your phone. The test is phone friendly if you wanted to do that. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen here for a minute, just so I can see. Let's see if she might not be able to hear me. Let me I'll copy the link here.
It is out there.
Is it out there? Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I just wanted to
Oh,
make
yes,
sure
I
it was
see it.
out there.
Yes, thank you. Yes. It is in the chat. So the link that says pointerpro.com, that will take you to the link to take the assessment. So we're going to give you a few minutes to take this, and then I would love to, for you to come back and just kind of share your results and let us know what you thought about it. Let's see, it's 6:44. Let's come back at about 6:50. And if you're done before that, just drop it in the chat and let me know you're done. If you have any questions about the assessment, absolutely let me know. If you have any other questions while we're waiting, maybe you're not an entrepreneur, you don't want to take the assessment, please let me know if you have any other questions. Okay, it looks like we have a question from Helen. She says, is it better to get a business tax ID or just use your social security number? So I don't get into legal structure of business too much, but I will say, I would recommend getting a business tax ID. It doesn't take much to do that. And there are better protections against that. So, when you're forming a business structure, they'll usually tell you to get like an LLC, only because of liability issues. So if someone tries to come after you or you get sued or held liable for anything, an LLC allows it so that people can't come after your personal assets. So they can't come after your house and your car and anything personally related. They can only come after what is in the business. So I'm not a lawyer and I don't know for sure, but I think if you use your social security number, that ties you personally to your business, and that would be able to allow people to have ties to your personal and your business. So I hope that answered your question. All right, I'm going to put a slide back up because there is oh, I have to share my screen. Sorry. Okay, so this next slide is what we're going to discuss here. So I want you to be thinking about this. If you're already done with your assessment, or even if you didn't want to take it, I want you to just start thinking about some areas that you're going to commit to. So the left side of this screen, it says, when will you begin? Whatever it is, right? So think about what area of that competency model we just went over, any of those 7 areas, any of those bullet points we talked about, which within those within those models. When will you begin working on that? What is your deadline? How much time will you commit to it? And who's going to hold you accountable for it? Is it yourself? Do you need to make a date? Put yourself on the calendar. Begin to think about those things, and really write it down and put it on your calendar, right? Because it doesn't happen if it's not on your calendar. Danielle says, what is RFP? I'm actually not sure, Danielle. Where did you see that at? Is it on the assessment? Oh, it's on the assessment. Huh. Oh, I did a quick Google. It says request for proposal. Oh, thank you, Dr. Carmen. Thank you all. I did not know that either, so thank you. Are you all getting through the assessment? You think you need a couple more minutes?
Yes, it went very well.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So as you are finishing up your assessments, and like we said, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no magic number that you're supposed to hit. This is really just to give you some insight into where you are, some areas that you may want to focus on. But really, like we just said, think about when you will begin. What's the deadline? We use these models every month in our groups, and we really, hold ourselves accountable to what it is that we're trying to do. But the point is just to keep going, right? Sometimes you can feel stagnant, sometimes you can feel alone in entrepreneurship. And that's not what we want, right? We want you to find community. We want you to find people that'll hold you accountable. We want you to be able to have support and to find people where you can just say, hey, I feel like closing my business today, or hey, I couldn't pay myself this month and I've been in business for 5 years. I've been in business for 10 years. Like that's just part of the journey, right? And a lot of people can't relate to that, and you can't go on social media saying stuff like that, right? Because you have to save face, and you have to show that your business is doing well, even when it's not sometimes. So being in places like this and spaces like this, and being able to surround yourself around other entrepreneurs that understand what you're going through, right? Because it's a very rare group of individuals that really truly understand that journey. And once you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of always an entrepreneur. Even if you go back to the workforce, it's always in you, right? So really think about that. So. All right, so I would love to hear maybe what was your biggest takeaway from today. I want to know if you have any questions. You can come off the mic if you want to talk, if you want to put it in the chat. You can feel free to do that, but I would love to hear if there was maybe an aha moment for you today, something you're committed to working on, any of these questions and areas from the slide. Feel free to just put it in the chat or come off of mute.
This is Deborah. I found the survey and the questions to be really great because it helped me to dig deeper into what I'm doing as an entrepreneur. And I would be one of those sole proprietors that you talked about, that talent. And it was an aha moment where I was thinking, these are some things I might need to dig a little deeper on and make decisions on how far I want to go with my business. It's going well, I'm comfortable, but at what point do we decide, do we continue to be comfortable or do we take it to the next level? So it made me think about those things.
Absolutely. And when we were talking about those seasons of business, that's something that, is so important to consider. And what is your version of success? Are you happy where you are? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want it to be bigger, there's nothing wrong with that either. But the point is really just if you want it to go bigger, then you need to see it through and you have to have a plan and do things on purpose to make that happen. So we really just have to get comfortable and being okay with whatever it is that we want to do. If you need to close your business, that's okay too, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I thought I saw a hand raised.
Hi, Stacy. Yep, Selena Calloway. I would say that the assessment is something that I'm going to share with my partners, with our business. It's a family business, so ultimately, our goal is just to stay in business and provide employment and make money, right? And, do what we need to do to continue to be in business. But then there's just always sometimes different perspectives on, what's important. Like I'm the financial person where someone else might be the person who likes to handle like the marketing, but is not good at it, and so on and so forth. So I think the survey would be good to kind of pass on to the other partners for me in this situation so that we can all try to be on one accord, to see if they feel that they would be in that same position to kind of continue the business moving forward if one of us were not in business or there present.
Yes, absolutely. And you said you've been in business 14 years, so I imagine that you've played a lot of those roles over that 14 years.
Right. And there's been a lot of ups and downs. I mean, the one point when you mentioned about the balloon, the balloon business, like trying to find ways to stay active or in business. I mean, we had to find ways during COVID because we were just shut down. And then that's when we started, adding on the food services, which we had never done before. But that all, the delivery companies, and that actually added a whole nother, issue. And I'm sure Melissa can relate to that as well. Because now you have to add staff and then it's hard to get staff and, you have to man, your inventory a little bit differently. And there's just a lot that goes into making those changes, but you have to be ready, which sometimes it's hard when that's not your primary job,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and so many great business ideas and pivots are made out of necessity. That's awesome. Do you have any advice for some of our new entrepreneurs and startups out there?
Well, I would say if you have a family business or you have a partner, just allow the partner, if one partner is better at, a task or overseeing something, allow them to take that lead and you do the same, but just be open to communicate and, you know, continue to find ways to keep your business growing and in a good place.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for sharing.
Um,
All right, who else? What was your biggest takeaway from today? Or what are you going to commit to? What area are you going to commit to working on?
Hi, Stacy. This is April. I just want to share one of the things that did resonate was you had mentioned the word EBITDA. EBITDA,
Yes.
and that was something. So let me just start. I have a retail online business I've had for about 6 years. So it makes it easy at the very beginning in terms of like sales and marketing. I started very early marketing, and then I ended up with a government contract. And so I've had that for the last 4.5 years. And I probably could work on one of the things that resonate is working on targeting a sales marketing branding goal, which I don't think I've probably did well on that because I know I have this government contract, but at the same time, I probably could enhance doing a lot better when it comes to the marketing and branding and generating another revenue stream, which is something you also mentioned. So that, and then just, in business and understanding that term EBITDA, I'm learning more and more about that. So I didn't know if you could share a little bit more about EBITDA.
So, like I said, I am not a numbers person, but EBITDA is basically knowing how much your business is worth. So there's a configuration of numbers, knowing like your gross sales, your net sales, your overhead, things like that. So it's basically that bottom line number that shows how much your business is worth, so that potential buyers know how much your business is worth, or if you're going to list it with an agency or things like that, they'll help you come up with an EBITDA. Your accountant should be able to give you an EBITDA number. So I am not the person to help you with that. I know what it is, but I can't help you come up with it. But anyone in finance, accounting, real estate, business brokers, they would be able to help you come up with that number for sure. April, I'm curious, did you have some ideas about what you mentioned another stream of income? Did you have some ideas about that already of how you would do that?
Well, this was actually my idea of having another stream. So I work full time still, and this was my idea of having a sort of a retirement play in terms of what I would do if I decided to retire in the next 3 years. I wanted to have a stream of revenue, something to do still with business. So I actually took a class on learning online business, and so I have an online retail for shredding, for example. And so, I think I just had a little bit of favor. I did submit a RFP to a bidding process through the government agency and was awarded a contract 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm still with this contract. And so it's taught me a lot for government stream, but not necessarily for the public, which the original idea was to have it for public commercial. And so when I say revenue stream, I'm thinking not just for government contract, but I also could be pushing more toward more commercial business as opposed to just the contract that I do have. So
Oh, got it. Well, that's why you knew what an RFP was. That's your
yeah,
world.
it is. It's exactly what it is. And I do
Got
know
it.
that even that earnings before income tax, right? That's an acronym when people use that, but not, I
Mhm.
still need, should be better when it comes to the financials, but I'm learning. So I'll have to look that
You
up.
and me both. Absolutely, but it's okay. You got to know what you're strong at and what you're not. So
Yes.
we know.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for sharing that. Danielle says she wants to commit to sticking to a plan and having more confidence in your ideas. Absolutely. Danielle, are you a startup company, or have you been in business for some time? Lena says earnings before interest, taxes, amortization measures your profitability. Yes, absolutely, EBITDA. Yep. Wonderful. All right. I think we have a few more minutes if anybody else wants to ask questions or share anything that stood out today. So Rose, are there any questions that I missed?
No, I think you have covered them all. I'm
Danielle
looking
says
at the
she's a
chat. I don't see any others.
Okay, thank you, Sora.
We did get a response from Danielle. She said she's a hairstylist and ready to start her own business.
Oh, okay. So you're just starting out. Okay, yeah, be confident in that. I think I used hairstylist as a example earlier. So just find your superpower. I know you have one. And just use that to stand out from the rest for sure. You're gonna be fine. Melissa says she wants to connect with April and do government contracting. Wonderful. See, we're already making connections in the chat.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Erica, thank you, Soror. Dana, thank you. Thank you, Danielle. Wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me be with you today. I do have one more slide. I want to share some resources with you. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. So, Sandra, if you could put that other link in the chat. There's a link, Entrepreneurs Forever. Did I share my screen? I'm really bad at this. Hold on. Oh, I didn't share my screen. I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay. Can you see my screen now? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this top link is for Entrepreneur Server. So I told you a little bit about the organization. If you have more questions, feel free to ask me about it. It's an amazing organization. We actually have some free funding right now for it. We received a $1.3 million grant from Senator Bob Casey's office last year, and we still have some seats available under that funding. So right now it is a free program. It is open. It's intended to be a 3-year program. And like I said, it meets virtually. It's once a month. They put you in groups of peers. They'll ask you lots of questions. If you want to be amongst people that do similar things as you, what time of day you want to meet. Our groups meet all different times. My personal groups meet in the morning times, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. Some groups meet in the evenings. So they'll really ask you questions to see what's best for you. But we are actually having a referral contest right now. So if you want to be part of it, you have to use my link so you can help me win this contest. But honestly, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. But some other organizations that I know do amazing things in the area. Catapult Pittsburgh, I've had the honor of working with them numerous times, especially if you are in the culinary arts. And if you sell products, and they are mainly for startup organizations, but they have tons of resources, an amazing program. If you have not heard of them, please look them up. There's a link on here. You could take a picture of the screen if you want to go back to it later and look up all of these amazing organizations. But the Chatham Center for Women's Entrepreneurship, they have amazing resources. They have pilot programs and monthly events and all kind of resources over there. Ascender is not something that I have personally have had experience with, but I've heard amazing, great things about it. From my understanding, it is like a co-working type of community, but they offer like community and connection and programming and things like that for entrepreneurs. And then the Greenwood Plan, they have a whole week filled with events and just professionals and industry leaders and people that want to come in and teach you about entrepreneurship and finances and everything. They also own the building downtown where Emerald City is at, but they are doing amazing things as well. So please look them up. And then I will just end. If you want to get in contact with me, I am on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under Stacey Barlow Hill, and Live Lead Succeed. There's my email address. The website is liveleadsucceed.com. And thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed, I always love talking about entrepreneurship. It's something that's very passionate and I'm very passionate about, and that is just kind of embedded in me. So I'm honored when people ask me to speak on this, because it's something that I love to talk about, and I love to meet other entrepreneurs and learn about their journeys. So thank you so much for spending your time with me this evening. And if you still have questions, I think we still have a few more minutes, so still feel free to put those in the chat or come off the mic if you want to.
There are no questions in the chat, but you are getting lots of accolades.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. All right. So we're, Deborah, should I pass this back to you?
Yes, that'll be fine.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing evening.
Hello. First, I would like to thank Stacey Barlow Hill for the amazing job where she shared her toolkit with us. She started with some tips that were helpful for us to aspire from being an aspiring entrepreneur to a seasoned entrepreneur to grow and scale our business. Some of the things we talked about was vision, money, scaling, and even looking at your talent and marketing skills. I definitely will use these tools and hope that you will as well. I also especially like the survey because it helped us to be reflective of where we are in the process and where we want to be. And I want to talk about our next program. We're going to have part 2 of the webinar series will be November 21st. It will be from 6 o'clock to 7:30 p.m. And the title is going to be around transferring your business with marketing and branding. And you heard some of that information about it today. And we will have Nick Nelson, a brandpreneur, and Alexander Payton, who also does marketing for the Kingsley Association. I'm also going to ask that you complete a satisfaction survey and know that as a participant, I'll put it in the chat, but as a participant, you will be entered in a drawing for participating in this webinar as well as the upcoming webinar. So at this point, I'm going to add the, see if I can make sure it's for everyone. Let's see, at the chat. To the group. Okay, so I'm adding the chat now. And please complete this survey so you can help us to do an even better job of getting out the information to you as well as others and hoping that you'll return so we can continue our work around being an entrepreneur. As you're pulling up and copying the webinar, I would like to thank you for participating with us. Thank you for joining us on behalf of Pittsburgh Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I also want to thank Stacy Barlow Hill once again, also thanking our Vice President, Jovita Smith, and the Chair, April Russell. So I hope that this is what you really hope you enjoyed this webinar. And if there's any further questions, put it in the chat. Or April, do you have any comments you want to add at the end?
No, I just want to just echo what you were saying and to thank everyone. And just one last echo of what you are reminding everyone to remember: building a successful business is not just about tools and strategies. It's about community, collaboration, and continuous growth. Thank you.
Thank you all. And please, please, please fill out that survey because it helps us to better plan for you, and hope to see you on November 21st at 6 o'clock.